Join me today as we dive back into classic fantasy fiction, looking at books of the 1970s today, specifically the ones that the awards totally snubbed. These are great books. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things that we enjoy. I'm Jim, the father of this channel. I'm glad to have you with us here today. We're going to dive deep into some perhaps forgotten gems of the 1970s, books that at the time did great, had great sales, and still have wonderful reviews and lots of ratings out there on Goodreads and Amazon, but you might not have noticed them because they didn't get any of the major awards. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Thanks. So, major awards. I really got to emphasize that. This is the second in a series where I'm going through the decades and looking at fantasy fiction. These are great books I'm talking about here today. They were very successful. They were recognized as really enjoyable reads. But the big boys of literary genre awards dismissed them, turned up their noses. They got no nomination and therefore, of course, couldn't win any of the big boy literary genre awards. I had to narrow this down. Some of this was from viewer feedback. There are so many awards for books out there that if I ruled out anything that got any award, I'd be pretty much guaranteed to make mistakes. How will I know if perhaps it got an award in Germany or some little niche award from a convention that meets and just they get to vote and it's on the internet now? So I looked at just what I consider the big boy awards. None of these books that I'm sharing with you today got any attention from the Hugo, the Nebula, the World Fantasy Award, the British Fantasy Award, the Locus, the Mythopoeic, and the James Tiptree Jr. Memorial Award. Some of them might have got whiffs from other smaller organizations, but in most cases, these books weren't noticed by any awards with which I'm familiar with. And it's a shame, because they were great. Now, I actually had to work hard to put this together because the Locus Award started nominating like dozens of books in a year. It was like anything that was somewhat good, they're throwing a nod. I'm glad they didn't keep that up forever. It really ruled out a lot of good books. And yet, I still found some gems, and I'm ready to share them with you here today. For each year, I'm giving you a runner-up and a best book, most successful, most beloved, that didn't get any nominations or awards. Let's dive in, see how many of these you know. 1970 is, of course, where we'll begin our journey today. The runner-up is Swords and Deviltry by Fritz Leiber. This is a sword and sorcery short story collection, actually. It's part of the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser series. Some of you are familiar with that. This is chronologically the first volume in the collected series. It introduced iconic characters, it continues to be reprinted, and it's beloved by fans. While individual stories in the collection, like Ilmet in Lankamar, did win awards, the collection as a whole received no major award nominations or wins. This particular collection is a trio of stories tracing how the two legendary rogues meet, fall in love, and band together in the treacherous city of Lankamar, blending wit, danger, and street-smart swashbuckling. But the best, and I know one of our viewers is going to be very happy here, the best book to get no nominations or awards in 1970 is The Eternal Champion by Michael Moorcock. I can hear the acclaim from across the pond. This is Sword and Sorcery, a cosmic fantasy, and is part of the Erekose trilogy and in the Eternal Champion multiverse. This is a key expansion in Moorcock's influential multiverse saga, appreciated as a cult standard among 1970 fantasy. A modern young man merges with his past life as the heroic Erekose and is drawn into a cosmic struggle to defend a world balanced between law and chaos. Sounds fun. Moving to 1971, we've got in the runner up position The Carpet People by Terry Pratchett. This is comic didactic fantasy and is a standalone work. It was later reworked into a 1992 edition, but it first appears here in 1971. It's a cult favorite among Pratchett's early works, noted by fans for its early glimpses of his satirical voice and imaginative world building. It's consistently featured in discussions of best fantasy debuts of the 1970s. A hidden civilization of little people living inside a carpet deals with colossal threats and social upheaval in a tiny, humor-infused epic. It's a gem. But number one for 1971 is The Dragon Horde by Tanith Lee. This is children's shape-shifting quest fantasy, light-hearted mythic style. It's a standalone novel, recognized as Lee's debut fantasy work. It retains a place in retrospectives of 1970s fantasy and enjoys ongoing nostalgia among fans. A young enchantress embarks on a whimsical, shape-shifting adventure, transforming into a raven as she seeks a dragon's treasure and encounters magical trials along the way. For 1972, our runner-up is The Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. This is dark children's fantasy with historical magical realism style and is a standalone novel. On Halloween night, a group of children traverse the globe through time and cultures to uncover the origins of their traditions, led by their mysterious friend, Mr. Moundshroud. And here's one you're going to know. The best for 1972 is Watership Down by Richard Adams. I know, no nominations, no awards. It's animal fantasy. Okay, that sounds wrong, but no, it's just a fantasy adventure, but all the characters are animals. It's a standalone novel where a group of resourceful wild rabbits embark on a perilous quest to find a new home, facing danger, leadership challenges, and bonding along the way. It's well known as a staple of fantasy now. Many people talk of it very fondly, but didn't get any awards. Never. Of the big boys. Going to 1973, our runner-up novel is The Man Who Loved Mars by Lynn Carter. This is science fantasy, and it gets in here because there just wasn't much fantasy available that didn't get recognition by the big awards, but also still was very successful. So instead of more traditional classic fantasy, we move into the kind of adjacent science fantasy. This book is book one of the Mysteries of Mars series and is regarded as Carter's best Mars novel. It's praised for its world building and its writing. A thoughtful Earthman arrives on a fantastical Mars and becomes embroiled in intrigue, exotic cultures, and the remnants of a once glorious civilization. But the best book for 1973 to get no recognition or award nods is The Princess Bride by William Goldman, which really kind of bombed when it first came out, but it didn't take long to catch on and has been very successful in the long run. This is a romantic adventure, fantasy, kind of a retelling of a fairy tale, and is a standalone novel. A classic tale mixing swashbuckling adventures, romance, and humor as a farmhand turned hero rescues his true love from a variety of whimsical villains. 1974 brings us in the runner-up slot, The Valley Where Time Stood Still by Lynn Carter. This is another science fantasy novel, book two of the Mystery of Mars series. It was well reviewed in Library Journal as a satisfying, enjoyable fantasy. It's appreciated by fans of Carter's Mars novels, consistently ranked among his best from the era. A Terran outlaw and his Martian allies uncover a hidden valley of ancient secrets and dangers on the Red Planet, unraveling mysteries that bridge worlds and civilizations. Number one, a book that I found a long time ago and enjoyed, Greenwich by Susan Cooper. This is book three of the Dark is Rising sequence. It's contemporary children's fantasy with mythic undertones. Highly praised by both reviews and fan communities for its lyrical writing and evocative use of Celtic myth. It's regularly included in lists of the top 1970s fantasy. Though the series contains a Newbery Honor Book, the one that's actually called The Dark is Rising, winning the 1974 Newbery, Greenwich itself was not nominated or awarded in any listed juried awards. The Drew children and Will Stanton undertake a ritual around the evocative Greenwich effigy to uncover a secret crucial to battling the Rise's forces. I used to have this as one of the staples to read out loud with my fifth grade students, and they loved these books. 1975. The runner up is The Great Victorian Collection by Brian Moore. This is surreal, magical realism fantasy and is a standalone novel. It's respected and widely read, praised as a modern classic. It won both the James Tate Black Memorial and Canada's Governor General's Awards. So normally I wouldn't want to include it, but those are smaller scale literary awards. Sorry, Canada, no offense. It's not catching any whiffs from the majors, the big boys of the fantasy genre. It follows a man who awakens to find an entire city block transformed into a perfect, surreal outdoor museum of priceless Victorian artifacts, raising questions about reality, imagination, and the nature of desire. But number one, fantastic children's book, Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. I'm shocked this didn't get awards. It's a children's philosophical fantasy novel. The fact that it's written to children is probably what kept it out of the awards, but this is really good fantasy stuff. It's an enduring bestseller, multiple adaptations and reprints. A young girl befriends an immortal family and faces a moral choice when their secret is discovered. Many schools actually have this in curriculum. You might have read it back in school. Moving on to 1976, our runner-up is The Riddlemaster of Head by Patricia A. McKillop. This is a high quest fantasy steeped in myth and is book one of the Riddlemaster trilogy. No award recognition, though its sequels later garnered attention. In this book, Morgan, a humble prince with a secret birthmark, embarks on a quest across enchanted lands to solve ancient riddles and confront hidden powers. But the best book of 1976 to get no award nominations or attention is Gate of Ivral by C.J. Cherryh. This is a portal quest fantasy and is book one of the Morgaine stories, a quartet of novels. Per genre lists, this is one of the standout fantasies of the 1970s, but again, no whiffs from the big awards. A determined warrior woman and her companion travel through an alien portal to protect a dangerous time-spanning artifact, battling enemies and fate itself. For 1977, the runner-up is one of those anthologies that we had some in the 60s, and here we go, one in the 70s. This is the year's best fantasy stories, version 3, edited by Lynn Carter. A lot of you had heard of Lynn Carter because of his editing and anthology work. Well, you also now know he wrote actual novels, but here he's back with an anthology. This fantasy anthology has varied stories: mythic, sword and sorcery, folk tales, etc. It is volume 3 of a series. It's known among fantasy readers and collectors for showcasing standout short fiction from 1976 and 1977. The anthology itself, though, received no major award nominations or wins. This curated collection of the year's strongest fantasy shorts spanned multiple subgenres and was written by diverse voices, showcasing the breadth of imaginative storytelling. But the best book for 1977, one of my favorites, The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks. This is epic fantasy, quest-based in a post-Tolkien style. It's also post-apocalyptic. This is book one of the original Shannara trilogy, though the whole series went on to have over 30 books and is still being published. This is a landmark bestseller. First fantasy novel to hit the New York Times trade paperback list with approximately 125,000 copies sold the first year. Widely celebrated as foundational for modern epic fantasy. Technically, it shouldn't qualify on this list, as it was nominated for the 1978 Locus Best Fantasy Award. But I said, screw it, because this was the first year the Locust split between science fiction and fantasy novels for recognition, and they nominated, in this year, 23 science fiction novels and 14 more fantasy novels. That's just a little ridiculous. Everyone gets a trophy. Trophy for you, trophy for you, trophy. I mean, come on. And then the next year, they didn't split them out again. They came back to it later, but I was just, this was an anomaly. Too many books got recognized by the Locust people that kind of lost their minds temporarily. So I'm sticking the book here anyway. Besides, I really love Shannara. In this book, Shay Olmsford embarks on a dangerous quest to retrieve the Sword of Shannara and defeat the evil Warlock Lord, chasing echoes of ancient power in a post-apocalyptic fantasy world. 1978 brings us in the runner-up slot, The Wizard of Zhao by Lynn Carter. Here's Lynn Carter again. This is sword and sorcery fantasy. It's book 2 of the 5-book The Chronicles of Kylix. It maintains a cult following among classic sword and sorcery readers. It's praised for its humor and adventure. A boastful wizard and his young apprentice embark on a wild comedic adventure across the planet Zhao, battling bizarre creatures and mastering quirky magic. But number 1 for 1978 is Quag Keep, or Quag Keep, I don't know how to say it, by Andre Norton. This is a fantasy novel that's actually a game-based Portal Quest fantasy and is a standalone set in Gary Gygax's Greyhawk D&D world. Well-regarded classic with thousands of ratings, is notable as the first Dungeons & Dragons-based novel. Real-world gamers are transported into their Greyhawk adventure as their characters come to life, bound by a quest they never expected. Fascinating. Our last year of the 70s, 1979, starts off in the runner-up slot with Conan the Liberator. Yes, Conan has arrived. Co-written by L. Sprague de Camp and Lynn Carter. This is sword and sorcery, heroic fantasy style. It's a Conan novel, loosely book 2 of the Bantam Conan novels this series de Camp and Carter wrote. Conan leads a daring revolt to overthrow a tyrant king and retrieve a magical talisman to liberate Aquilonia. But the number 1 book in 1979 to get no award recognition is Thieves' World, edited by Robert Lynn Asprin. This is a shared world fantasy anthology, volume 1 of the very successful Thieves' World series that ran through the early 1980s. This long-running series is beloved among sword and sorcery and shared world fantasy fans. A gritty city of Sanctuary sees overlords, rogues, gods, and monsters collide in stories from multiple authors, weaving a dark, shared tapestry of intrigue. That's where we stop for the 1970s. What do you think of these books and anthologies? Have you read some of these? Put your thoughts in the comment box. What are your experiences with these books? Are there any that really surprised you that they never got any awards? Did I make any errors with this list? Feel free to point those out. Again, I was focused on the big boy awards, but if you want to highlight how it got that little award from that one little conference center, let me know. I'm all good. I love learning. Also happy to have you share any other 1970s books that you really loved and no, also didn't get any award recognition. Let's give them some love. While thinking about recognition, recognize in the show notes there are other ways to interact with my son Zach and I other than the comment box. All our links to our socials and our Discord invitation, they're down there. Our email address is there, and our Patreon. Thank you to all of you who regularly support us on patreon.com, helping us keep this content coming. That's where I'll leave you for today. Watch around for the 80s. It'll be coming soon. And we've got a big live stream celebration, having gone over 3,000 subscribers coming up this weekend if you're watching this promptly. Check that out on our channel. Jump in the live chat and have some fun with us. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.